Are you feeling stuck? Like you're standing at the edge of something more, but you're sort of unsure on how to take the leap?
If so, it is time to break free from the hesitation, the self doubt, and that spinning in place. Join us, Lisa and Carrie, for Unstuck and Unstoppable, which is a powerful masterclass designed to help women just like you move from uncertainty to bold, clear action.
So, in this transformational session, you'll learn how to break through the barriers that have been holding you back. You'll reconnect with your power and your purpose, and you'll step confidently into your next chapter with clarity and courage.
So, this is your moment to stop playing small and start living the life that's been calling you. If you're ready to move forward with confidence and create what's next, this masterclass is for you.
Absolutely. So go to our website, thethingsweknowpodcast.com, and click on Masterclass. We cannot wait to see you there. You're not meant to stay stuck. You're meant to be unstoppable.
Can't wait to see you there.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Things We Know. We're so glad you're here. Today, we are talking about something Carrie and I both love, which is humor. We've said it before, laughter and music are like medicine. And in fact, in season one, we had a whole episode about how both have helped us move through some of life's biggest moments.
Yeah, and let's be real, humor feels essential, especially these days. Between the news cycle, the mental load, the stress of being a woman in midlife, trying to do it all, we need something to help reset our nervous systems and reconnect with each other. Lisa and I probably text each other something funny every day. There is this quote by Victor Borge: laughter is the shortest distance between two people. And it's true. And today we're going to talk about why it's also a form of power.
Mm. Our guest today is someone who knows how to wield that power in all the best ways. Lynn Harris is the founder of Gold Comedy, a brilliant platform and community that helps women and non-binary folks grow their comedy careers, build confidence, and show up as their bold, funny selves in the world.
Lynn is also an award winning journalist, an author, a culture shifting producer, and someone who's used humor to change laws, shift culture, and stretch what's possible. She even worked as a Tanya Harding lookalike. I got to hear about that,
Yeah.
but we'll let her explain that one.
Lynn, welcome to The Things We Know. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. What a great intro.
I always love watching people's faces during an intro because it's so nice to have someone introduce you. I love it. So let's start here. What is it about humor that makes it such a powerful tool, especially for women?
Okay. How long you got?
The floor is yours.
Humor is, let's go back to the quote that you said. Let's start with the quote that you said, and then we'll go from there. The quote you said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people. And that is absolutely true. Humor connects people because if you think about it, most jokes, not all, 99% of jokes consist of a setup and a punchline. And what happens between the setup and the punchline is a twist, a surprise, something unexpected happens. And if you and another person can follow through that surprise, if you both get the surprise, then you are connected. It means that sound you heard was my cat knocking a pen and a lipstick off the table. Okay. Any further sounds you hear like that will probably be the same thing. Anyway, so that's why it means that not everyone will get the same joke, right? But if two people get the same joke, they're connected. It's also, so that's connection. It's also power, because as I like to say, when you make people laugh, you make people listen.
Mm.
And especially for women, this is a thing, because when you're watching a comic, or the expectation generally, margin of error is hecklers, but generally, and using stand-up as an example, when you're watching someone do comedy, you're listening. They have the power. They're up on a stage. They're the one you came to watch and listen to. And so the more women, and many are, the more women wield that power, whether literally as a stand-up or not, the more we are training people to listen to women.
Wow.
I
Wow.
like it.
I love that. And I think of that. I used to facilitate groups in person, and I remember thinking, if in the first few things I do say, if I can make them laugh, they're with me for the rest of that meeting.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. And it's I think I talk about that a lot, and I think about it a lot, and I think sometimes people are like, but I'm not funny, I can't do that, or but I don't know how to write a joke, like I'm shy or whatever it is. And the thing about it, making someone laugh at the beginning of a meeting or a talk or whatever doesn't require is not necessarily a heavy lift. It doesn't
Right.
require a great deal of expertise. It really just requires reading the room, and saying what so. Like,
Mm.
let's say it's freezing, or let's say the Danish, that they served before the keynote were amazing, or whatever. Just saying something out loud that's on people's minds, even if it's not a fully constructed joke. And sometimes it's better if it's not, because sometimes it's heavy-handed to sort of, you hear the keynote setting up the joke. If it's just something that you kind of toss aside, but that really makes everyone say, "Oh my God, you just said what I was just thinking," and it makes them laugh, not in a like not a belly laugh, gut busting kind of laugh, but a laugh of recognition and connection. So like it's not that hard to do that if you think of it that way.
Yeah.
So it's much better than like Googling opening jokes for keynote, or which I do not recommend, because that's not reading the room. That's not reading the room. There's no room there.
Right.
Gosh, I'm having this major aha right now, because when I think about my own journey, Irish Catholic Gen X, it's very similar to a lot of people's, but humor is kind of like my love language in terms of like how I've gotten through uncomfortable things, or how I've transitioned, between one environment to the next. But you just made me realize in my journey around, any sort of personal work, right? Like any personal growth work, I was only attracted to people who would make me laugh. Everyone else I didn't believe, or I felt like it was too much. Like this is too much. Like if they made me laugh, I was listening, and my whole nervous system changed, and I could like see myself in all of this. If they didn't, and it was just all heavy or all just woo, like it didn't grab me at all.
Yep. Yeah. Very relatable. Totally.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so you said you've used humor not just to entertain, but advocate, to really shift
Mhm.
conversations. So, can you share a moment where humor changed the outcome of something that was big and meaningful?
Well, if you want to drop another Gen X reference,
Yes,
as
please.
Carrie was just saying, this is certainly, this is using the Wayback Machine, and there have been plenty more since. But I've been thinking of Ellen coming out,
Yeah.
which was a massive, um, which was part of, which helped drive a massive culture shift
Yep.
around acceptance. And acceptance is really, we need to do better than acceptance, but okay.
Yeah.
Around acceptance of LGBTQ folks. I mean, that it feels quaint now. But I mean, and of course she wasn't the first character. I mean, there was, Billy Crystal on Soap, and there were so many others, but it was sort of like a wink and a nudge, before
Yeah.
in many of the other characters. And the act of her actually coming out on a sitcom that everyone
Yep.
watched with a whole bunch of white people, the character who is already beloved, it was sort of a watershed moment. Did it like solve discrimination? Absolutely not. But did it provide sort of huge amounts of air cover for the sort of the movement to move forward? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the normalizing and mainstream-ifying of people and ideas that need to be normalized and mainstreamed. So that I always cite that one. Because it's not like we need only sitcoms and we can all stop marching, like we need both,
Right.
because it's everything helps, again, just normalize, the normalize other humans,
Yeah.
who might be different from us. So that's kind of my favorite example. But I think the other thing is, it's both about the power of the content that someone might be discussing. So, for example, Cameron Esposito, who's one of my favorite comics, has a kind of like underwatched special called provocatively rape jokes. And so she uses humor to of course, can you joke about rape? Yes, as a topic, but it really depends on, well, what are you saying? And what she does is very masterfully makes fun of rape culture.
Mm.
And so she really now I don't know, I can't speak to the folks who listened and who, I mean, it may have been mostly the choir, but but probably not, because she also very skillfully leads you in with just some other, just like comedy, just like pretty much regular stand-up, and then kind of winds her way into the more challenging stuff. So I think people, I don't know if it would make anyone do a 180, who, anyone who thinks like, rape should still be legal if you're married to him or anything like that. I'm not sure that like listening to an hour of Cameron Esposito is going to change that person's mind. But if you're already primed and you hadn't thought about certain things in a certain way, I think it could I know for a fact that comics who are skillful enough to go places like that can really make people go, and it also really matters who's talking, so, and goes back to what I was saying before. It's not about the topic necessarily. It's about seeing people who don't look like you or who don't live like you over and over, more and more being in the position of power, meaning being in the position of doing comedy. And that I really think that in the aggregate, or that contributes to, again, normalizing that those folks can talk and you got to listen when they do, and they have something to say, and they're full, and I don't mean to like other, but I'm saying anyone who's not like you, who you're watching do comedy, I think it has an effect on your perspective, and the way and again, we need more than acceptance, but I mean, even like, this is the worst example, but like when men come up to women after the women have done stand up and say things like, and believe me, this is very common, still is, I didn't think I liked female comics, but you're very funny, and
Wow.
so on the one hand, thanks for nothing. On the other hand, okay.
Those are accomplice salts, we say.
Yeah, right. But on the other hand, okay, actually, maybe that dude's going to be a little more open-minded the next time he sees a female comic.
Right. It's like one for the win column. Well,
Yeah.
it makes me think of when you were saying from the get-go, we've been talking about this being connection, right? So I think it's interesting because if you're in a room and you realize everybody's laughing about something, and it's that moment where you think, gosh, I thought I was the only one that thought that. And so all of a sudden you're seeing everybody else laugh, and now you feel part of a community, which might make you more willing to go out and do something. You learn something, and now you're, oh, okay, now I'm going to go out and I'm going to, I don't know, do something for Pride Month. I'm just randomly pulling something out of my ass. But I think that's the connection community piece. Now you feel like you've got people behind you who believe the same as you did, where you might have felt very alone and like, oh, I don't want anybody to know I believe that.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I think related, not the same, but related is kind of an interesting tidbit that I used to also do a lot of storytelling and teach and have taught storytelling. And one thing that a lot of us, teachers say, and it's true of stand-up as well, is that it's kind of a paradox, but the more specific you are in what you're saying, the more specific you are to your own, about your own experience, about your life, about anything, the more, weirdly, the more relatable you are, because there's something about, like, the old chestnut is, airplane food. Like, okay, like it doesn't speak to anything. The magic of painting a specific picture is that it actually speaks to something primal.
Mm.
So like, even if, I'm a straight white woman, if I'm listening to, a queer person of color tell a story that would never have happened to me, but what the story's really about is, I don't know, fear of being alone, or something primal that we can all relate to. The
Someone
specificity
hanging
actually.
I was gonna say someone hanging the toilet paper the wrong way. Just kidding.
Whatever it is, right? Like, or like, sure, things that we all have, things that that frustrate us deeply, whatever that. They're all different, but we can relate to that sense of frustration, or the sense of like powerlessness to change something or whatever. Like, those are all primal, and the more specific the detail around that, actually the more you tune into the primal piece of it. And that's really magical when it comes to storytelling and comedy, especially when you're listening to someone whose life experience is different from yours. All of a sudden, it's way more relatable than you thought. Not the exact life experience, but the primal human stuff.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
So you so clearly care and you have experience in this. So like, when did you know that you were funny, right? Like, how did you, and then obviously like that's had to have come, and that's probably a big piece of what you want to help other people tap into. But like, what was your journey with comedy?
I was just thinking about, I don't know if this was the moment, but I remember when I was little, my mom said, who was a big worrier, are you okay? You're a little hoarse. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm a little girl. And I was, boom, mic drop. And my mom laughed so hard, and I was like, oh, hey, this is, I like this. And I remember specifically, I was little, and, but I just, the lane that I then found myself in, and yes, here's my cat. The lane, it's like, are you talking about your childhood? Let me come hear you. It's fascinating. The lane that I found myself in, partly encouraged both indirectly and directly by my parents, was funny is good. And they both came from very different backgrounds, but they sure had things, and the things they had in common included Monty Python, The Muppet Show, Carol Burnett, The Jeffersons, all of the great sitcoms of, for us, those of us who are Generation X, MASH, and Laugh-In, huge.
Yeah.
Laugh-In was huge in our house.
Yeah,
I say Carol Burnett, right? I should have led with Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett, also huge. Yep.
So, and obviously I Love Lucy, and so that was just like, I mean, that was just the peak of, and also on all the time in my house, even though like my parents, who were totally anti-television and technically didn't let me watch TV, all those things were on all the time. Both, even though both of their, I never knew my mother's parents, but like, she came from like her whole family, her cousins, they're all just like funny, and my dad's side also very witty, like not cut ups, but like also just funny. And my dad was way more of a goofball, and my mom was more of a good crowd. But like, it was just normal, funny was just normal in my house. And so, and then I kind of figured out that it was helpful somewhere along the way, like when I was in high school. I enjoyed high school, weird, but I went to a very preppy, jockey high school. Really nice. I mean, nice people. It was not. It was not. But I was not like the mainstream, tall blonde girls who could just burst into lacrosse. Like, that was not me. And I was a theater nerd, and it just, and chicken and the egg. Like, I showed up that way, but I also sort of wound up realizing like, okay, not that. I wound up, as they say, kind of leaning into being the funny one, and not playing, with a couple of exceptions, generally playing like the wacky sidekick in the musicals and stuff like that. That was just my lane, and it's where I felt it was where I felt, as opposed to like, okay, not didn't feel, it helped me feel, what am I trying to say? It helped me feel not, not mainstream, but just my own thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was a small school. Like I wasn't like, it wasn't like, it wasn't like one of those, like I need to be funny to survive kind of things. It was pretty mellow, but I really was like, okay, I'm owning this.
It's a,
This
yeah,
is my
it's
area.
like a
Yeah.
musician or something. So,
Yeah.
okay. So so fast forward to now, like when you are working with people and women especially, but what do you think people get wrong about what it is to be funny? Like so many women will say, "Oh,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not funny." So what's your response to
Right.
that when people don't think they're
Right.
funny?
There are so many styles, types, and flavors of funny. I mean, just think about, even if you think about, whichever, comics you name first, or even the comics that I named, all very different. Monty Python style of humor is super different from the Muppet Show, super different from, um, super different from just, or all the stand-ups you can think of, that you might like. Cameron Esposito is super different from, I just saw Bob the Drag Queen, like very different. Like they're just in their styles, not just their, life experiences. And the same is true of just like comedy or humor in everyday life. Like my parents, both of them very, very funny, completely different. Um, my dad liked gags, and my mom was the one who would like write limericks as a toast. She was when they always asked to give toast. And so what I like to say to people is, well, first of all, um, the term we use is a sense of humor, not a grasp, not a mastery, just a sense. All you need is a sense. The bar is low.
True. I never thought of that. That's so
Right?
Very funny.
So
A sense
and
of talent.
something, right? A sense of so it kind of goes back to what I was saying about like opening with a joke. Like, don't talk yourself out of opening with a joke just because you think you're not funny or you're shy or whatever. Shy, do you know how comedians are shy?
Yeah.
All, like so many comedians I know or know of are super shy, and that's why they're on stage. They don't want to talk to you. you know um but it's there's no one way to do it. Sometimes, as I was saying before, excuse me, cat, sometimes it's really just about just having a little bit of the courage to say what's so it does, which is different from crafting a punchline, you know
Yeah.
um
Mm.
to just to not, well, the other thing I always tell people is don't try to be funny.
Yeah.
So I one of the things I started telling people to do is if they kind of don't really get what their own funny is. Okay, my cat is really in the way here. Okay, let's go over here. A podcast. I'm on a podcast. See, some people are just punny. What I've told people, how this thing with gratitude journals, obviously that's a huge thing. I I suggest sometimes for people to keep a funny journal, and in it, it's just a notebook, whatever, notes on your phone, doesn't matter, whatever works for you. Where you write down just like things that you notice in your day that might be funny. You don't know yet. They might not. Like something that annoys you, something that you notice, like the littlest thing, like uh I was just sitting in a rolling chair, and our house, all the old houses where I live in New York are slanted, like they're all just like a little crooked, and so I was in a meeting and I kept rolling out of the meeting because so like that's just funny. Like I don't, it's not a joke, but it's
Right.
funny. So write that's funny. Write it down. Like, and so if you start training yourself to notice the things that happen in your regular life that are kind of funny on their face, or could be, or maybe it's just funny that how my cat, your cat always sits on what you're reading, or whatever it is, right? And then you look at the end of the day and you're like, oh, well, they're not jokes yet, but I kind of have some material here. And that's a start. It's because it makes the lift feel lighter, that you don't have to like sit there with a piece of blank paper. And like, if you're saying you're not funny, you're probably imagining like staring at a blank screen or a blank paper and going, okay, go write a joke.
Yeah, like you're on SNL
Say
or
something
something.
funny.
Yeah.
Right. Say something funny, which, by the way, every comedian loves that. When
Oh,
you
I
meet someone
bet.
at a party and they find out you're a comedian and they say something funny. We love that. We can't get enough.
I'm
We
sure
can't get
that's
enough.
huge.
Yeah. But
You know
anyway,
what
that's my recommendation.
what strikes me about that too is, let's say you never get up on stage and do stand up. If you are sitting down every day and writing down the things that were funny to you, like that's just bringing joy to your life, period.
True.
Right.
Right?
So it's
I text
full
them
stop.
to Lisa, but
She does. Yeah.
Yeah. So full stop. Like if that's all the project is for you, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we also have in sort of our flagship class at Gold, which is our stand-up boot camp class, which is suitable for novices and people with experience. The exercise that we do at the very beginning is we give them a list of 100 prompts. And the prompts themselves, let me be clear, are not funny. They're just like, they're not inherently funny. They're not like, tell us about a wacky thing that happened to you. Because that's just an anecdote. That's not, that's, there are things like, I don't know, why should we be your friend? Or did you get along with your siblings? Or what was something weird about your family? Or just they're not inherently silly,
Right.
And so, and we tell people to answer them. When they answer them, do not try to be funny. If something comes out funny, we're not saying don't be funny, but don't try, right? If something comes out funny, great. But when you start, and then an exercise we do in the beginning of classes is we just kind of go through and have people read. We say, can you like read what you wrote to the prompts, read the answers that gave you the feels, any feels, or made you chuckle or whatever. And then we're like, okay, that whatever that thing is, that we start talking about it, and we like develop it a little in class and say, well, say more about that. Okay, so wait a minute, you're saying you have 6 siblings and you had a ton of pets and you're the only one who doesn't like animals. Okay, that's funny. Like, it's not a joke yet, but like, this is like, that's funny. And we'll say, well, your homework is to work, now, then we're going to teach you joke structure. And then you're going to figure out how you can like put joke structure on that topic and you have something funny. But it started with something that is just your life.
I love that. Well, and it's interesting because I'm thinking, what I'm hearing here is the people that are coming, you said some are already established to some extent, some are doing it brand new. For us, our audience is women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And our sort of big mission around the pod is letting women know the best is not behind them, that they can still create their next best chapter. So
100%.
what role do you think like humor plays in that? Like, as you're thinking about rediscovering yourself, it doesn't have to mean you're going to be up on stage, but what does humor do to help facilitate that rediscovery?
Well, for one thing, a couple things. For one thing, and Carrie was alluding to this before a little bit, especially for those of us of a certain age, like not all of us were super encouraged to be funny or loud or even talk at all. So there is something powerful just about kind of letting your silly flag fly, letting your funny flag fly, like all the stuff that was not, that like we got the message to not do, or to do only with our gal pals or whatever it is, right? But not in public, not in mixed company. And so there's something, first of all, very powerful about sort of uncovering and unleashing that, whatever that looks like. There's also all the stuff about connection and power that we talked about. And there's also, and this is a little bit more specific, but there's there's for sure a subgroup of women who are Gold members, who are in their 40s, 50s, even older, 40s, 50s, even older, who come who are not quitting their accomplished professionals. They're not quitting their day job, but they're more than curious. They're in it for more than just like, oh, I always wanted to try this. Let's see what happens, which is also fine, by the way. That's fine. But they come with, because, and maybe it's a little bit of like a post-COVID thing also, I don't know, but I think it's really like a kind of a women later in life thing, which is that I have always wanted to do this, whether it's could be stand up, or I've always wanted to, I've had an idea for a TV show or a film or whatever it is. Maybe it's something, maybe it's something that's pure fantasy, but it's just like a great idea and it's been lodged in their brain. Or maybe it's something about their, their family. Like the fact that, example, one of our members, literally everyone in her family is a dentist. And so she is, developing a show about that. And but she's also not quitting her day job. We have a woman who's a doctor, who is developing a game show around being around medical stuff.
That's so cool.
And it's and yeah, and other women who just have had this idea, like as our instructor for this class I'm about to mention says, that they have a story that's just on their heart to tell, that they've got, that even if it's extremely silly, they're just like, I gotta do this. And so they come to us with that, where they are very serious and dedicated about developing a pilot, developing a pitch, just developing this idea. Some of them it's a podcast or a movie, or generally it's a TV show or a web series, but like there's this like, I gotta do this. They come hungry. They come hungry and serious. In fact, the class I'm talking about is called Build and Pitch Any Idea, and it's taught by a former producer from Broad City and Search Party, like super experienced, and she's wonderful, and she's really committed to diversifying, the voices we hear and the faces we see, and the stories we that are told in especially in comedy. And she always says, no shade, but to where she developed the class, but she used to teach it at RISD, at Rhode Island School of Design. Her name is Ryan Cunningham. I should say that. Ryan Cunningham, we love you. She used to teach it at RISD, and she loved it, and she loved her students there, and they were great. But then after the pandemic, we invited her to teach it with us, long story. And she always says, like, these people are so wonderful because they have lived a life or two or three, and they have so much to bring to the class, and they take it so seriously, because not just because they want their project to succeed, but because they're so passionate about this, creative side hustle that they want to really make a thing. So I think that those that particular psycho demographic really says something in answer to your question of having lived a bit, and being able to determine to be really serious about a project that you want to see through. So yeah, a bunch of them have shows in development now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, from that class.
I really love what you just said too in answer to Lisa's question, because when we what you're describing is so much of what we see also with women at this stage of life, whether they've been through trauma or loss or just just life change. We almost called this, no fucks left, this podcast.
Oh yeah.
And there are drinks here, like we had such a comedic idea for this at first, but really it was coming from this hunger that we saw in women, that they needed to connect and they needed to tell their stories, many of them for the first time, to even realize they had a story to tell. And we continue to see that with the work we do in retreats, just for people to see themselves as the hero of their own journey is new for so many women. So I love that there's this place for them to launch something that maybe there's just been this nugget of an idea.
Yeah.
And just this idea that because something's shifting and women are letting go of not caring what people think of them, and really just wanting some authentic proof of life, right? They just want some authentic, they want to feel authentic and they want to be validated for that. And I can't think of anything more raw and vulnerable than this.
Yeah.
Love that. So So just skipping ahead a little bit because I want to get to I don't want to forget to get to this, like gold comedy, like what inspired you to create it? And just like, how is it changing the landscape for women? Because I didn't even know this existed until you reached out
Yeah.
to us.
It started as an idea a long time ago, as an idea that I had just kind of, I was noodling in my head for teen girls. Because long story short, I just wanted to think about how can we encourage teen girls to be loud and listened to?
Mhm.
And that it morphed. We had a lot of success with some pilot workshops where we'd have teen girls come in the morning with nothing, and by the end, and by like 6, their families would show up and they would do stand up, and it was amazing. And I still work with the instructor that developed the Elsa Wave, amazing comic who taught that workshop a few times, and we developed the curriculum together. And we still talk about like specific jokes that those girls told, and that was years ago because they were so damn funny. But as it evolved, it turned out that really where as much as where my heart, where the demand was coming from, as we kind of put out feelers and did some experiments, was from young and not so young women who were serious about stand-up. That they were just like, can can I please get out of this bro vibe and come to you? Because unfortunately, two opposite things are true at the same time in the comedy world. One is that it is unrecognizably better than it was when I did stand up and before.
Wow,
And not
that's
just stand
cool.
up, but also like the way writers' rooms are staffed, the kind of material that's. I mean, there's not just like women driven shows. There's shows about older women. Like it's just. I mean, and not just Golden Girls, which we love, but like Girls Five Eva and the wrestling one, and which I can. What was the I can't. Anyway, there's I mean, it's amazing, and writers' rooms are diverse, and there's more women on doing Netflix specials than ever. And like right then there was a thunderclap, by the way, here in New York. More women doing Netflix specials than ever. Boom.
Boom. I love it.
And
That's awesome.
and at the same time, at exactly the same time, the opposite is true, that women are still, work twice as hard to be paid half as much. There's still lineups that are have one stand up lineups with one woman. Yes,
Wow.
today. And all 5 of the late night hosts are white dudes. And we
Yep.
love them. This is not about them, but like them individually. But come on,
Yeah.
I just talked to a stand up the other day who said that she was traveling with she was doing doing road work, as they say. She was touring with 2 dudes, and they, at whatever bar they were or club they were working at, they each were going to get a free drink, normal. And so all 3 of them, after the show, at the bar in the room, walked up to get their free drink, and the bartender gave free drink to the dude, and then charged her for her drink. And she was like, I was just, and it's just that's the kind of bias that we're trying to overcome here by just normalizing women on stage. Because the person, like, I don't mind if the bartender wasn't fully paying attention to the show, they were doing their job, but like to assume that the woman was not one of the comics was just a built-in bias, so like that was 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So okay, so I forgot what question I'm answering, but
Well, it was just like why you created and how
right.
So what gold is for.
And so people sort of coming to us like, because they were like, wait, it's there's no bro vibe, it's, and okay, wait, where do I sign up? And so I had always and I'm skipping tons of stuff and experimentation and whatever, but then the vision really kind of crystallized around creating a really powerful community and professional network, where women and others can build their careers and make stuff together. Because that's why I had so much fun doing stand up, even though it was like I certainly battling the patriarchy every day. But I had so much fun because I had a great crew,
Yes.
of many genders. But like you got to find your crew in order for it to be fun and successful. And what if we could do that writ large? And what if we could do that for people who don't live in comedy cities and help them succeed? And then in the aggregate, this is so the that's the individual thing. Like I really care about I just really love comedy. And I, when I was little with all those comics we talked about, like I didn't sit there and watch Lucille Ball and Ruth Buzzy and Carol Burnett and think, oh, she's such a funny female comic, or Miss Piggy.
Right.
I just thought they were fun.
Lily
and
Tomlin,
Lily
Tomlin,
Tomlin.
and
Yeah.
she was a big one for me.
One
Yeah,
Rainy
me too.
Dingy. She was my dad. Oh, he loved her.
Me too.
Yes.
So
or even Saturday Night Live, we got Gilda, all those early, it wasn't.
What strikes me listening to her too, Lisa, is we both love Hacks, that show Hacks.
Yeah.
And like what you're describing
is
so, it's great timing.
Also about women and age and all. Yes. I mean, that's amazing. I could go on, but in any case, so I just really care. So my angle, I've always, loved comedy and cared about social justice. And what if I can do them at the same time? And so, that's like the big so for individuals, I really believe that I just want to help women and others succeed in comedy because it makes comedy better. And when comedy is better, no kidding, the world is better. And it matters because women are people, and it matters because comedy is work. So it matters the same way it matters in any enterprise, in any industry. And then I also really do believe that this is not like why someone would sign up to do gold, but this is, my sort of the big dream is that, is to be part of changing the face of comedy, just like flooding the zone. And doing my part. I can't do it. Gold can't do it. We can't do it on our own, but doing our part to normalize lady on stage, or woman in writer's room, or women wielding the power of comedy. The more we normalize it, the more, the less people say, call us female comics and just call us comics. And that really kind of normalizes women. And so, that's kind of that's the, like the most kind of fancy version of what drives me. It's really kind of contributing to that kind of culture change and patriarchy smashing. But I also just I just love watching people be funny and being part of people being funny. And many of those people are straight dudes, but when they're women, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I love it. And goes back to a woman might tell a joke in stand up and a man's going to relate to it, right? Like it doesn't have to just be, oh, women are the only ones that think women are funny. So, okay. So along the same
lines. It's the same thing with the primal thing, right?
Totally. Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's telling the joke.
100%. So then thinking about, okay, so there might be some of our listeners who are like, this sounds amazing. I can't wait to sign up. And there might be some that are still just, oh, well, what surprises you about women and how we're funny just in everyday life, right? Like you said, gold's not just for performers. People, obviously, you said doctors, all these different people that are coming. But when you just think about women in general and how we're funny on day-to-day life, what surprises you about that? If anything, maybe nothing, because you're like, we just are.
I mean, this is part of our, I don't know what's nature or nurture, but it's certainly true that women are conditioned to just talk more about ourselves.
Yeah.
And kind of quote unquote open up, I don't know I don't really need an example to illustrate this, but I don't know if you've seen the movie Sing Sing, where about Shakespeare in prison. And there's before they even start doing the play, they do these exercises where their instructor is encouraging them to just open up, and just talk about themselves. And that's mind blowing, in this, but we kind of do it anyway. And so I think it doesn't really surprise me, but I think it's just the shared language that we have, no matter what. I mean, women and people in gold come from all different backgrounds, all different geographies, all different everything, all different differences. And there's just this shared language of our eyes roll at the same things, or that it doesn't the level to which we can connect is I wouldn't say it's surprising, but it's remarkable.
Yeah, that's a great way of
Because of
putting
the
it.
shared language, like across our differences. Just from basically, like, I guess we all grew up in the patriarchy.
Yeah.
So we
It's
all
true.
relate to it in some way. So I don't know if that was a great answer,
No, I
but
think that
there's
was
an
perfect.
ease.
It's
There's an
it's
ease.
yeah, and the shared language and the
Yeah.
fact I guess I think, and I'm not even sure I asked the question correctly. It was more about, again, there might be women out there just still thinking, oh, well, this all sounds great, but I'm not that funny. And yet, if they took a step back, if they started doing the funny journal, they would realize that they actually use humor quite a bit.
Right.
Sometimes to uplift, sometimes to make their kid stop crying, sometimes amongst their friends, and it actually is such a great and beautiful coping mechanism that women use all the time. So,
And I think in the
yeah,
workplace too, in the workplace, it's just, it has been a lifesaver for people, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's a workplace that accepts women being funny.
Good point.
Otherwise
Good
it can be
point.
a minefield, but mine does, for example. But but yeah, I mean, there's all these studies that talk about CEOs prefer to hire people with a sense of humor. People prefer managers with a sense of humor. It actually, not just because like they're fun, but because the humor actually the research talks about how humor builds what we talked about, connection, but also trust.
Mhm.
Like, it's some deep stuff. It's like some really deep stuff. But part of me always
It's
wants to
high
like
on my
dig into
list.
yeah.
For people. Yeah.
Part of me always wants to dig into and it's not always clear from the studies, but part of me wants to dig in and be like, did you only study dudes though? Because
Right.
because humor can also be risky for women in a given workplace, because
Right.
if you're the only woman in a conservative workplace, first of all, you may not be comfortable, like, with a wisecrack. And second of all, if you're reading the room and be like, and the reason why it might be that, and I'm not sure, because I've only worked in, in, myself in workplaces where this would not be the case, but I do know that I would be, I do assume that the vibe would be if a guy makes a joke in that space and it falls flat, everyone's just like, Bruce. But
Right.
if a woman's like, I'm gonna do it, and like makes just a random wisecrack and it falls flat, then women aren't funny and she can't do her job.
And she's
Right.
unprofessional or
She's
something.
unprofessional,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't want to paint all places like that, but I'm just like, so
I'd say that.
all of these articles that if you read the headlines, it just says like being funny at work is good for you, and I'm always like,
Careful.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Walk
I mean,
softly.
it is. We understand why and how it is, but that there are I think that a good and I'm a journalist, so a good journalist would like dig into that in that article and say, well, okay, researchers, did you explore the nuances of gender and see what that got you?
Yeah.
In some cases, I'm sure they did, and in some cases, I'm sure they didn't. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Good point. Okay.
So, really hard question here. You gave us a list of a lot of songs. So we love your breadth
right.
of musical taste, but just curious, if you had to pick one that speaks to the season of your life right now, what would it be?
A song that speaks to the
Mhm.
season of my life. I mean, it's too on the nose to say like literally anything by Beyonce, because we just saw her and we're still coming down from it. So that's like too on the nose. It's too on the nose. I would say the season of my life. I would say I'm dying to say honky tonk badonkadonk, but I just want to say that to be funny, and it's not at all relevant. It's just one of the funniest songs ever written. Um, what were some of the ones I put down? No, I can't remember. Do you have it in
Boy,
front of you?
I
I'll tell
think
you
I
which one.
do. Give me 1 second because I do
I
have
had
it.
fun answering that question, and I immediately forgot everything that I said.
I will find it in a second. Okay. You have Up the Ladder to the Roof by the Supremes. I
Oh,
just want to
okay.
celebrate. Things can
Yeah.
only get better. You are the universe. So in love. All the
Yeah.
things you are. That's
Okay.
half
I'm
of
gonna
them.
take two of those. I'll take two of those right now, just
Okay.
so I don't make you read the whole. Yeah, I was had a good time brainstorming. Uh, Things Can Only Get Better, Howard Jones song, is I'll do that one with the side of one others with one other. One thing, I am fortunate to have married an excellent husband, and one of the things that he says a lot and has said a lot during like the pandemic, which material for another podcast, was terrible for both of us with aging parents and various nightmares that are typical of people of our age. And the thing that he always said that we always kind of both clung to was, it won't always feel this way. Whatever it was, it will not always feel this way. Like if you had asked me 2 years ago if I would ever be done cleaning out and renovating my parents' house, which I know is a very privileged problem to have, but like, oh my God, it really, like, it cost me family, it cost me work, it cost me in those areas. So while taking care of my aging dad, and as an only child. So, just thinking to myself, it will not always feel this way. It will not always feel this way. And that is why I put the Howard Jones song. The Up the Ladder to the Roof is just my happy place. Is we have it's falling apart. But we have a really old, possibly illegal, deck on our roof. That's where I'm a big nerd for gardening. And that is my happy place. And so that's where, and I've had it there for a long time, but every year I get more and more obsessed with it as like my cocoon is the wrong word, but like I need it, and I need to like play in the dirt, and I need to grow my stuff. And now that we live in end times, I can grow 1 or 2 tomatoes and maybe a tiny eggplant and feed my family for a day.
I feel that. I love it. Those are great songs. Well, this has been exactly what I thought it would be. It's been hilarious and affirming. I want to, again, Carrie and I so believe in humor, but for our listeners to not just hear it from Carrie and I, but to hear it from a female comedian.
I quit. I'm leaving this podcast. Goodbye.
Leave. Yeah, no.
Leave button. Right.
But I think, and again, you're right. We could have probably a whole nother conversation around what you went through in COVID, but obviously humor got you through that. So being funny,
100%.
having humor is so powerful. And no one, and especially women, do not have to wait for permission to do it, to show up that way.
Mic drop.
Yeah. I also would add, I mean, just thinking about the relationship that built between Lisa and I during a really dark time. I mean, it was the beginning of COVID. Her mom had just died. That was literally the beginning. And one of the main sources of fuel for our friendship is, even in the darkest days, making each other laugh really hard. And so what you said about connection means a lot, because I heard someone say to me recently about her friend, she's like, she makes me funnier. Like when we're together, she makes me funnier. And I think, I imagine what you're doing with this group is everyone's making everyone funnier because they're tapping into each other's energy. We send each other a lot of those.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Those things that like, well, we think we're hilarious. I don't know if anyone else does. But.
Well, they're wrong if they don't think we're hilarious, just FYI.
Where can people find you again? What's the easiest way to connect and learn more?
On my roof is, the easiest way is to find Gold is Gold Comedy, our website. Gold like shiny and comedy like comedy. And also it's the same on Instagram, Gold Comedy. If you DM us or email us info at Gold Comedy, or me, Lynn, at Gold Comedy, or whatever, if you track me down, I'm easy to find, and tell me that you heard me on this and you want to join Gold. When you stay past your free trial, I'll give you a 10% discount.
Nice.
We're really easy to find. Gold Comedy is the best places are just the interwebs, the website, and Instagram.
And we will have all that in the show notes. And if you're following us on Instagram, we will be tagging Gold Comedy in all of our little reels this week. So please watch all of that. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for reaching out and asking to be on. The minute we got your email, I was like, yes, we need her on. So thank you. Thank you. And if this episode made you guys laugh or made you think about, gosh, maybe I am funny, send this on to somebody. your Carrie in your life and send it on to them and be like, see, we are funny. It's not just us.
Yep.
Yes. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And thanks again for being here, Lynn. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much.